The Justin Trudeau Liberals have paid out nearly $11 million of compensation for injuries from the safe and effective novel COVID-19 jabs, but most of the funding allocated to the Vaccine Injury Support Program goes to the consultancy firm responsible for administering it.
I am extremely pleased that I got the AstraZeneca vaccine a number of weeks ago. Every single vaccine available in Canada has been approved by Health Canada as being both safe and effective.
So what we do not know as yet the effectiveness of the vaccines that we have in preventing asymptomatic infection or to reduce transmission. That data is just not there. But I do know that international studies, the vaccine manufacturers, also following that. So we expect to sort of take that data in mind as we look at what the impact of vaccinating persons in long-term care could be. Certainly, I think that the primary goal is, I absolutely think that everyone has to commit to getting vaccines as fast as possible into this population.
And the Conservatives won't tell us how many folks haven't been vaccinated. And why is this a concern? Well, I mean, look, last week the Conservatives had a caucus, a member tested positive, and now here we are in the House, unvaccinated members with exposure to somebody with COVID being in the House. That's a great concern.
Tamara Ugolini here with Rebel News to bring you an updated report on the Federal Vaccine Injury Support Program, known as VISP. It shows that the vast majority of funding goes to administering the program to a private consultancy firm rather than to financially support victims of this safe and effective marketing scheme. Originally, we had filed for access to information documents in 2021 when the program was first launched, and the response then showed that the program was capped halfway through its first year because the Public Health Agency of Canada only planned to process 400 vaccine injury claims per year, which is how many they had received in the first 6 months of launching this unprecedented pandemic-borne federal program. The government documents concealed some key information on page 59, like how much the program would cost to administer versus how much financial support would actually go to those suffering vaccine injury. At the time, I wanted to know why for 2021/2022, there was $2.8 million allocated to ongoing financial support, but the program itself was totaling $7.8 million. They also completely redacted potentially relevant information beginning on page 66, including context, purpose, roles and responsibilities, effective communication, and most ironically, verbiage on the open and transparent claims and intake process. So we appealed those redactions, and I finally have an uncensored response to share with you. But first, if you appreciate this kind of work, please consider supporting it at rebelinvestigates.com. That's our exclusive reports website, so please also just check it out. Now we can see that the unredacted version of page 59, which is page 1 in the newly released document, shows that from 2021 to 2026, when the program is anticipated to end, I guess we'll see, the total amount of funding allocated at the time was $32,310,002. But the cost to administer the program will take a whopping $20,310,002. That's over 60% of the total budget for the VISP program goes right back to the consultancy firm administering it and not to the victims. You will see that ongoing support to the families was only budgeted at $12 million, yet the VISP website states that as of December 1st, 2023, more than $11,200,000 has been paid out to claimants. This is way over budget for the purported to be safe and effective injections. You know, the same ones that were mandated through threats of financial ruin and job loss, not to mention societal ostracization and the unethical vaccine passport system that was enforced almost indiscriminately throughout 2021 and in some sectors even persists to this day. I had appealed the extensive redactions that spanned on those pages, which now we know pertained to the litigation management system. In there, the context stipulates that consultancy firm Raymond Shabbat Grant Thornton Consultancy Inc. entered into a contribution agreement with Canada to administer VISP. RCGT controls the program and its implementation in accordance with this contribution agreement and program policies. It references Section 15 of the contribution agreement on litigation risk. Canada and the recipient, that's RCGT, will co-develop a litigation management plan that sets out the roles and responsibilities of each party for the purpose of mitigating risk of litigation and the process for responding to potential litigation and any claims brought against one or both parties in relation to the project. The mutual understandings section basically just lays out whether or not the government, i.e. taxpayers, will offset any legal fees incurred by RCGT in administering VISP, and that RCGT must obtain liability insurance that Canada will pay for. To mitigate the risk of litigation, they agreed to implement an appeals process and even recognized that an appeal process is an initial tool in mitigating potential litigation. RCGT will implement an appeal process that handpicks different medical experts than those handpicked in the initial claim assessment. They're instructed to ensure effective communication, to contrive consistent messaging to claimants throughout the process. The management plan stipulates further that proactive communication ensures awareness of and timely response to potential litigation, including sharing of information with efforts to redact personal information. There is then a flowchart process outlined where each party provides prompt notification to the other in instances of correspondence that could lead to potential litigation and if a statement of claim is filed in court. While this contract appears pragmatic on the surface, there is the real potential for collusion between the government and this private consultancy firm to minimize the impacts of the VISP program from people like Meredith Klitsky, who described gatekeeping of this system and the red tape-riddled, bloated bureaucracy, the mounds of paperwork needed to even submit a claim. Dr. Patrick Phillips, for instance, a former emergency room physician who at the time of the COVID-19 vaccine rollouts described how this gatekeeping by local medical officers of health and the multi-layered filtering system of our adverse events reporting systems was preventing valid reactions from even making their way into these safety systems. And that was in May of 2021. Failure to recognize and adequately treat adverse events has been an issue since I first began reporting on injuries in July of 2021. This was all further backed up by 2 nurses in December 2021 who detailed the extreme medical gaslighting of those experiencing reactions, and that their reaction was simply coincidental and due to anxiety, that there was no mandate to report adverse events, and even more shockingly, that stacks of adverse events paperwork went missing, which they fear were never documented. This was at the same time that Health Canada began stonewalling the streamlining of the online reporting system for vaccine adverse events, resulting in confusion and likely also further contributing to underreporting. As of January 4th, 2024, there have been almost 59,000 Canadians with documented adverse events reports, including 488 deaths. According to the FDA, adverse events from vaccines are common but underreported, with less than 1% reported to the Food and Drug Administration. So this represents a small fragment of those truly affected. It's such a widespread issue that even our regime government-funded media can't ignore the human tragedy that persists to this day. And let's not forget that Raymond Shabbat Grant Thornton was responsible for developing and marketing a vaccine validation solution, which was an employee/employer portal marketed as a way to securely review and assess vaccination records for compliance. It's a page that is now scrubbed entirely from their website. Meanwhile, pharmaceutical oligarchs like Pfizer enjoy unchecked profits as governments excused liability in a disturbing pact that revealed long-term effects and efficacy of these rushed-to-market injections remain unknown, leaving the public vulnerable to unknown vaccine adverse events and taxpayers on the hook to support them. Of course, the government is going to try to thwart these cases and stop the revelation of how corrupt and incompetent these rushed-to-market novel biologics truly were, further proving how inherently corrupt, well-funded big government really is. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. Canada's Federal Health Minister Mark Holland continues to promote the safety and efficacy of these novel products, and if you would like to exercise your democratic voice to tell him otherwise, please do so at nomoreshots.ca. At that website, you can sign our petition demanding an end to the market authorization of these products. You can also send Minister Holland a form email urging him to do the same. To find this and other well-sourced reports on this topic, please visit nomoreshots.ca and consider supporting this kind of journalism. Thank you very much for your time and your support.